I am Dr. Miles Graham Salisbury, and you are listening to the Miles Ahead podcast, where we share tactics, techniques, and protocols to improve your physical, spiritual, and mental fitness in order to become more self-led, grounded, and integrated. Guest is Dr. Grant Headley, also known as the Body Listener. We discuss how to stay physically healthy and injury-free, and how endurance sports and physical activity can also masquerade as an addiction or avoidance, or a way to cope with emotional pain. We discuss men's pelvic floor health. Yes, men do in fact have a pelvic floor, and how this can influence many maladies such as erectile dysfunction, fertility, and other areas of men's health that many men may not have been aware of that women generally are. We also talk about his advanced machines and techniques, and how he's put me back together with all my various injuries. We get into my Achilles injury a little bit and some of the other fun things he's helped me heal through, and much, much more, and his own mental health journey of sorts and how that affects the body as well. So this is sort of a slam dunk podcast for where mental health means physical health. Doesn't matter if you're a male or female, but I think this probably will hit men a little bit more, just because I don't think men know that you can go to physical therapy for pelvic floor stuff or related issues like this. So it's a fascinating episode. I've learned a lot from him over the years, and I think you will too. So here we go. Back with the Miles Ahead podcast. Today we have Dr. Grant Headley, one of the guys that's been putting Humpty Dumpty back together again. Yours truly, one of two PTs that's been working on my Achilles. Plus, you put both my torn elbow ligaments together as well.
Yeah, we just keep going through the years together. Yeah, that's good.
Every time I get an injury, I just roll. It's so nice to have you in the gym. It's so easy. I know you're branching out now too, but it's so cool to just have you there and then get some treatment.
It's a nice home for my practice, and that was really one of the original ideas that I had even when I was in undergrad. When I saw a PT office in a gym, it just seemed like that synergy where it just seemed like I couldn't imagine it not working. Mm-hmm. And funny enough, it doesn't work quite often. And so to have the community we have here at Project 360 and having the therapy room, I think being a resource for people, even just for information, hopefully to prevent injuries. And then when they happen, there's the model of targeted care to, I think, listen to what's working well for that person, and then with the technology forward approach to evaluate the problem with the numbers, with the VALD system, and then how I like to use these therapy devices like PiezoWave and WinBack to really, in a targeted way, regenerate the tissue non-invasively in a bid to keep them out of surgery. And even in a collaboration with docs that do regenerative med, like with PRP and stem cell and whatnot and exosomes, I think it's a support to that model as well.
100%. Yeah. Maybe explain to the listeners what shockwave, WinBack, all that is, because they may not know. Because they may go to regular physical therapists and they get, was it the Graston scraper or whatever, and it does some things. But oftentimes these clinics or insurance companies don't have this equipment yet, or they're not ready, or maybe it's too far ahead, or it was used for kidney stone breaking up or something. I'm sure you'll get into that. But
yeah, that's where maybe how I got into the high technology approach with physical therapy is from my own struggles with pelvic pain. And we can go through that whole story, but the traditional therapy approach that I received care from women's health, being a man, getting care in women's health physical therapy was awesome. It really changed my life, set my life on a, much better course from a really dark place of not feeling like I was ever going to be well again. And then learning a lot of yoga and breathing techniques and integration of posture and alignment, and really how that goes with breathing. I had this basis of believing that with enough exercise and focus and postural correction, almost like this purist pursuit of finding perfection with no technology, with no outside influence. I believe in that even today. But it takes a lot of obsession and almost like a dedication that's not practical. And I was kind of inhabiting that as a young man, as a single man without the stresses that most people have. And then this one patient I had who's also a doctor, he invited me to come and view his therapy devices, one of which was the piezo wave. And I was looking at different things that urologists do that I could do as a therapist in the pandemic when I had some extra time.
And that's where these devices develop, is sort of in that urological.
In urology, yeah. For breaking up kidney stones and then for treating erectile dysfunction.
Interesting. Okay.
And so that's where I started to go down this path of being interested in technology. And when I first experienced the piezo wave, I was blown away by how much more healing there was below the surface. Even though I wasn't experiencing pain or dysfunction, I was really overwhelmed with kind of how the body continues to scar down or continues to want to hold on to scar tissue, despite knowing how much I obsessed over doing hours of yoga a day, being obsessed with my posture, like having, for many, many years, like a, perfect diet for what I thought was necessary to like go to town on my problems, on my pelvic pain. And so right then and there, it was like the shockwave, what didn't feel like this external added piece, it actually felt like getting my body in tune with the healing that's, despite my best efforts as a patient, not practical or not possible. And almost like it adds this completeness to what nature would do, minus the stress of having a career, minus the stress of, many things in modern life that we just scar tissue over and keep pushing through.
Sounds about right.
Right? And so it was really a major shift in, if you had met me at the beginning of my career where I was kind of drinking the Kool-Aid on I think the physical therapy dogma of devices like traditional ultrasound don't work. There's a very little evidence, quote, in the evidence-based medicine, let's say dogma. And I started to really be inspired by colleagues and even patients who were experimenting, and they took a more empirical approach to the direction of therapy and the direction of caring for their patients and caring for their own health. And so almost like the people that I was more drawn to that became mentors of mine, like Dr. Tucker down in Santa Monica on Wilshire Boulevard, Dr. Dennis Cazacrea here he's off of Nimbus Road here in Portland. They are very rigorous. I would say perhaps, among the most rigorous people I know intellectually when it comes to their practice and what they bring in, but they're willing to try things and willing to experiment with things that might not be in the official canon of what we do as physical therapists or chiropractors here in the United States, but it's actually got, if you want to look at the quote evidence, it's there, it's in other countries.
Oh, interesting.
It's in Germany,
France.
It's in Italy, France, Japan, Korea, China, Russia. I mean, there is a wide world out there, and just because I didn't get exposed to it at University of Iowa or Creighton University, there's actually much more to it than what my professors, what their purview was, which is just to get me licensed and get me safe in practice. And so, opening up my purview over the last 6-7 years to beyond what my narrow scope was, it's opened me up to this mindset of constantly learning. And almost like if you discharge as my patient, we solve your problem now, when you come back in a year or two with a different issue, you should bet on seeing a different process in my practice. Either new technology or some sort of process that is evolving. And those are the
staying current.
Staying current. And I think it's driven by that process, but that interplay between the patient and the doctor's experience. And I think that really organic process and trying to find what's practical and what works, and really what's a powerful experience for the patient to help them make change.
Yeah, when I saw you, it was like no PT I've ever seen before. It was completely freaking different. I mean, you could show me the exercises that I've seen, but even those, like the little thing that you grip with your toes, what is that thing called?
The toe pro.
Dude, yeah. I took it to my other physical therapist, and she's like, this thing's amazing. And like,
yes,
this is not normal. And like, the analogy of like picking up a hammer without using your fingers versus using your fingers is like, oh, that makes sense. And it's totally made all the difference in my recovery. It's like there's all these new things, and it's really cool. And I imagine a lot of guys realize they don't have a pelvic floor. Maybe talk about how you hurt yours and solved it, and how does shockwave help with erectile dysfunction? That sounds like, I don't know if I'd sign up for that motherfucker, because like shockwave, if you've ever had shockwave, you put on the same stuff as like an ultrasound, and then it's like a little bit of a TENS unit feel, like a shock. And if you have pain, it doesn't really feel awesome, but I can't imagine that on my downstairs area.
Yeah.
So do explain.
Well, this could be long. I'll try to keep it focused.
Okay.
So the pelvic floor in many ways it's just like other muscle, nerve, and
a lot of veins,
blood flow tissue. So it really is just like your bicep, your pec. If you have a low back pain, it's the same stuff that's there.
Interesting.
It just takes extra training and care and professionalism, but also creating the environment where it is normal to have care in this area, to explore this area.
Yeah, because women's all good all day, right? Guys don't think about this.
Right. And so in some ways, I really try to approach pelvic floor care like it is just care for another area of your body. And I've been through it myself as a patient. I know how difficult it is to find people willing to explore care and therapy and search for solutions to the range of problems that this area can have. And because of, I think, the denigration, the shame, the taboos in our culture, men suffering from these problems, which are overwhelmingly common at some point in their life, that shame, that taboo, it gets compounded, and the problems get worse because they can be prolonged for months, years beyond necessary.
So like a blood flow issue all around down there.
Exactly. Blood flow leads to lack of blood flow, or compression of a nerve leads to neuropathy. Leads to scar tissue getting laid down by the body, just trying to scar it over and move about our business. And so just kind of touching on the range of dysfunctions, we can have erectile dysfunction. We can have pudendal neuralgia, which is a nerve compression it'd be like it's like carpal tunnel of your pelvis.
Ow.
Yeah.
Huh. Is that from like how we sit so much these days, things like that?
Yeah, it's posture. Well, it's a big topic.
Injuries.
And we're here in this I'll don't let me forget about that, but we're going to say post-vasectomy pain.
Oh, right.
That can create pelvic pain and tension.
Interesting.
And then just touching on chronic pelvic pain syndrome. And many of these are names to the range of pelvic dysfunctions. So yes, there are pain syndromes related to post-vasectomy. There's something called hydroceles and varicoceles.
Ooh, that one's nasty. That's when the nuts get twisted.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Or you can have like a herniation of the spermatic cord and the muscles that lift the testicles. And, why is this offered in a gym? Well, athletes with, quote, sports hernias in their abdomen and their inguinal canal.
Inguinal hernias. Yeah.
In their adductor muscles. So if you have one vulnerability, the whole pubic bone is now destabilized.
Damn.
And so you need to strengthen everything that attaches to the pelvis to return to your sport. You might have to actually do therapy on the pelvic floor itself and strengthen the pelvic floor.
And people didn't know probably you could get PT for your pelvic floor.
Yeah, right. And so there are a range of dysfunctions that they might have a direct physical trauma or musculoskeletal cause. Now we're here in your psychotherapy office. And so could have even without direct physical trauma, there can be a component in anxiety and PTSD and depression and these protective mechanisms that affect posture or say yours truly here had a significant trauma to my maxillary bone when I was 8 years old. I spent a lot of time.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
So I had like reconstruction here, my maxilla, and a lot of surgeries there. So I spent a lot of time, like
in the hospital
every month, like going to different dental surgeries, like do revisions.
Wow.
And so I was gripping the chair and like kind of holding myself off the chair, like hovering above the chair. Right.
Scary for an 8-year-old.
Sure. Yeah. And so the pelvic floor is a great protective mechanism. And you couple that with, other things that we could wave into, like what I personally experienced and some of my possible contributing factors, but
cycling, you're good.
Yeah. Like my compulsion for bike racing and training, and the bike was kind of just like the straw that broke the camel's back, I think, but it was the way I was holding my body. And so that's why it really takes hopefully the person that gets to treat somebody with a pelvic dysfunction knows what their purview is and what they're good at treating, and then has a lot of really strong and broad connections across the community.
Yeah.
With cognitive health, with having a good urologist or a good naturopath to look at the nutritional irritants, to look at and evaluate what this person might have too much cortisol. They might have low testosterone, and investigating why those might be there.
Get some blood work done.
Somatic therapy is a major stop on my course. And if I had somatic therapy, I think that would have shortened my healing journey a lot. And I would say, if I'm probably being honest, part of the professional journey of constantly evolving, I would say a wonderful place to get to is where, if you have a chronic pain syndrome, having gratitude for the pain, or having gratitude for this this force that comes into your life that a person might be so hell-bent on figuring out, solving, overcoming, and never delving into some of the underlying issues.
Yeah. See it here all the time in my office.
Right. And that's something periodically when I re-engage in that gratitude, it's a really potent source of there's a sweetness to it, and there's a source of deeper healing there and a deeper gratitude for how struggles bring you into contact with, I think, the deeper self and with that life force that no matter how bad things might feel and get, we're gonna find a way through, and we're gonna meet people there that are going to inspire us, or we're gonna find our own path when one is not presented to us.
So you're listening to the pain, not just dismissing it. You're going deeper. What is it trying to tell you?
Yes. And I think that is a long-term project for us because it's that's something I don't know how to systematize. Not that I'd want to pretend to be a mental health therapist, but it's something that needs to be, I think, brought forward in my process more. I'm sure there's physical therapists that do a better job than me, but for me, just anyone out there that might, know someone who's suffering from a chronic pain, or if they're suffering themselves, like, it's going to take a lot of different paths to healing. And, if we just even spend a minute on some of the most foundational ones is, I think, a breathing practice.
Yeah, breathwork's huge.
Yeah. And something you might riff on is really there's a difference between breathing as a means to an end and breathing as a kind of like a exploratory practice of something that can really bring profound change. And I've experienced that as if I'm breathing, like,
I'm taking in oxygen.
Yeah. And that's like actually hyperventilates me, makes me more
anxious.
My anxiety, and it's like almost like you want to hyperventilate at night when you can't sleep, and that hyperoxygenation actually ramps up cortisol ramps up pain signals in the pelvis, in the body.
Wow.
Versus
the opposite,
where we're focusing on exhales, we're moving different parts of the parasympathetics, or moving, we can actually, instead of trying to force the pelvic floor to move, we're allowing the breath to come in and act as our guide. And that's upregulating parasympathetics. And there's something really sweet and beautiful that happens there, and profoundly physiologic that happens there.
It totally does. And Connor Beaton talks a lot about like breathing into pelvic floor work. And imagine it also gives the chance for your blood vessels to vasodilate. And I think of like Tai Chi, they always talk about like the dantian. It's like that sort of pelvic area, and like in Tai Chi or Kung Fu. It's very important. That's as far as my knowledge goes. But like I took a Tai Chi class in college, and it was like all about the dantian. Everything originated from the dantian. It was like there's something there, in that area. And with men, I think we need more education, like you're talking about with breath work, with PT, with all these modalities. There's something there that can be freed up. And if you want to get woo-woo, like maybe some sort of chakra system that's trapped, a lot of men that don't experience their emotions, they stay in their head. It goes down there sometimes and gets stuck, in other areas too. But like, the shoulder pain's a classic one, but a lot of people have like gut problems and things like that. It's got to be all interrelated somehow. And breathing can be huge. And I've noticed when I've worked with guys and teaching them how to breathe, it goes right to the chest. And then I'll have to like show them like, no, stick your belly out like a Buddha. Like fat, like make yourself fat, like stick it out. And it's like, I think our culture is like, no, I'm going to show my 8-pack off. I don't want to do that. Like, bro, it's just you and me. I'm not going to judge. and their mind's blown that they can breathe there. And then I'm like, now breathe and then feel your back expand. And it's like, holy shit, my back opens up. Like my back moves and like my back pain's a little bit nicer. And it's like, yeah, you're really letting some stress out there. And then when you breathe fully in, then go to your upper chest. And then it's the reverse out. And it's a total mind blow for them. And like no one teaches us how to breathe. Like we just, like you said, like if we got knocked out, our central nervous system would just breathe us, which is that's pretty cool. But like to go deeper, yeah, there's so many. I mean, yoga has been doing this for eons, but I'm glad it's coming back into the general knowledge sphere. And you're very holistic, which is awesome. You know, you're always looking for the new technological thing, but you're bringing in all the old stuff or current technologies and weaving it together, which is really cool.
I think it's all energy. I think there really should be a through line. At least my justification for the technology is it's using the latest technology to make that holistic healing available right now, like in the moment or in the next 10, 15 minutes of the therapy session, and not tell someone, well, okay, you've got to do 3 hours of yoga a day for the next 18 months, and you need to make your life perfect, and then you'll have healing.
Some people can do that.
Yeah. And that's where kind of dovetailing into my new partnership with Evergreen Factor.
This place sounds amazing. Everyone keeps telling me to go check it out.
So I'm bringing my men's health practice there, and the purpose of, I love the gym. I love being at Project 360. It's that synergy between as Peter Attia says, endurance and strength are more powerful than any of your bad habits or any of your genetic dispositions, or, well, perhaps not, but
it can compete with them.
It can compete with them, and you have a chance. So building your endurance and strength is a profound change. Perhaps there's nothing greater.
Which is cool about the gym, because a lot of our clientele is different, right, than like your 24-hour fitness.
Yes,
bro,
they're dedicated, and it's a wonderful community of really
high functioning,
wonderful people. And now Evergreen Factor, if I had, I keep bringing it to like, okay, what are my patients experiencing so far, and then what is my perspective as I feel like constantly on my healing journey as well. And if I had a place like Evergreen Factor, again, the healing, it's such a miracle that I actually was able to overcome my dysfunction and to be able to regain sexual function, to regain my confidence, to kind of build a new person in a way, and then to now be a father to a beautiful 5-year-old daughter.
Look at that.
And I'm, doing all the things I set out to do and more, right? That was like, I don't know if that was really meant to be all the time. It was very iffy. That it took a lot of crazy obsession and dedication and chance encounters and help from people.
I imagine it was a part of that sort of like a dark night of the soul for you in many ways.
Yeah, very much. Very much. And so my clients that I've treated at Evergreen.
Hey, let's explain this place to people, because they may want to check it out. It's run by a physician. Right?
It's run by a medical doctor, Dr. Tomas Jigena. He's a medical doctor. He's from Argentina, and he's an absolute legend in Oregon. And he has his main clinic in Silverton called True Health.
Oh, it's down in Silverton as well.
So yeah, that is his main clinic, where he has a direct primary care practice, and he helps very ill people find solutions to chronic illness. And his clinic up here is his bid to help the community with prevention, detoxification, and optimization.
Yeah, you see all these wellness sort of spas shooting up, like Restore, which is pretty cool, but it sounds like this guy takes it sort of the next level in a way.
Yes. And there's a lot of good offerings in the community. There's wonderful doctors that do, I think they all speak a similar language. And so the thing that I find special about Evergreen is that it has access to the medical staff of Dr. Tomas and now myself as a physical therapist to help with musculoskeletal and specifically pelvic dysfunction. And so you have that available, but then directly outside of seeing the doctor, you have the preventative therapies that people that are accessible to them on a daily or weekly basis.
Always good.
And it relates directly back to their blood work of what they're deficient in.
So you're actually looking inside to find out what's going on before you just medical paint by numbers it.
Yes.
Yeah, so
right. And so a place like Restore or places that have, the kind of the red light cryotherapy, NAD, it's all, it's helping some people.
Yeah.
But let's wait before we go down and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on an NAD infusion. Let's prioritize.
What do you need first?
And so just bringing it back to my patients is they're already coming to see me for men's health. Okay. We're targeting the healing and the therapy on their pelvic floor. And, we're doing a little breathing practice, a little yoga in the session. We're doing maybe some focused shockwave, the piezo wave and the wind back to improve blood flow to the pelvic floor, to break up scar tissue around the nerves. Then they step outside my treatment session and they can, after having an evaluation with Dr. Tomas, perhaps they're getting, some nutrient that they're deficient in, or they're going to get that IV while they're on on what's called the VEMI bed.
It's all at the same time. You stack it.
They stack it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So we go from the targeted therapy that's helping the cells of like their main dysfunction, but then we're going to let their whole body feel what it's like to get the chronic stress level tuned down. And so to our earlier subject of talking about how, let's say, a pelvic floor dysfunction could have a upper level chronic stress driver in the brain and nervous system, creating the tension. And so for some of my patients in the past, it's like, hey, we're doing everything I know how on the pelvic floor, but the pelvic floor is not the primary. The pelvic floor is the reaction. It's a protective mechanism, and we need to find the psychotherapy, or we need to find something else so the body can feel a different.
I was thinking of like fibromyalgia.
Exactly.
Like, you go to the doctor and like, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, we do all these tests and your blood work's good, nothing wrong with you. And I always find like when I ask people, like when I get to know them, if they come into therapy, is like, do you have a trauma history? And like, how did you know that? And if you read The Body Keeps the Score, you're like, you might find out some things. And like, it's so amazing.
Yes. And so to have a physician in Dr. Tomas that doesn't treat the chronic pain or the fibromyalgia or the MS or perhaps even the cancer, like, this is the enemy. It's like the body's sign saying, we've had enough. This is our protective mechanism. Listen to us and figure us out. And
so prophylactically, you do all these things, and hopefully we don't go down that road.
That's the hope. Yeah. And like,
spend the money now versus the hundreds of thousands of chemo or later or whatever it is.
Yeah. And that's where I personally believe in using a funding mechanism like a crowd health.
Right. You told me about that. It's amazing.
So we're actually truly putting our money on prevention and creating a community of people that believe that are going to support each other in catastrophic times so that we have more funds to invest in prevention and wellness.
Because people can't do that now, right? They want to, but then they may not be able to use their damn insurance because of the deductible. So they just sit until they're bleeding out. And the doctor's like, oh, you need to come in now. And it's like, it might be too late. It's really I mean, we don't want to go off on that tangent. I know the medical healthcare problems we have in this system.
Yeah.
But crowd health is.
Well, I think that's
great.
what I mean, podcasts are opening up
Yes.
all this information here. Look at these thousands of books that you have and many more that are behind the ways that you help people. And now you're distilling that information in a practical way. And there are a lot more ways, as many negatives as there are about the modern economy, the modern marketplace. There's a lot of opportunity. You just have to have guides, and that hopefully, the guides are able to have different accessibility options, right? And so, where I am right now in my career is trying to work on that accessibility again, and open that up a little bit to having different ways that people can get my care, and training other therapists to bring in their creativity into my process that can help, their clientele with their chronic pain needs or their injury needs. Because I think that there are a lot of great ways that we can take the technology that we have right now and take the information. And I think that the patient base is getting a lot more sophisticated than many corners many of the main entrances to the medical system. And that's a frustration. And, I decided a long time ago I'm not going to try to fight that. I'm just going to try to create alternatives.
There you go.
So, and I mean, I think just to stop getting off my soapbox.
You can stay on it. It's fine.
No, this room where we are, and this interplay between the physical. I mean, there is no separation between physical and mental wellness.
Exactly.
And I've had some extremely dark mental times that were overcome through physical experiences, which is probably why I got obsessed with being able to exercise, which brought me to my injuries and my chronic pain, because that was my compulsion, my drug, but it was my way of feeling alive again.
Sure. Yeah.
And why I was so motivated to help other people find their way that they feel alive, running, bike riding, whatever, gardening, lifting up their kids, like that feeling of being physically well is such it's like a belief that I still haven't yet fully investigated, but it's something that is really behind a lot of things that I am driven to do for myself and for other people. And then being like very physically fit and very physically well, and having all of that, and yet the let's say the unexplored loops in my nervous system and unexplored pain and hurt and trauma are probably like lead to like some of the biggest risks to my physical health.
Sure.
And so that's kind of where I am personally now, is like that interplay. And so, yeah, it's on a good day, it's really grateful for it, because it makes me feel really happy to find those links.
For sure. Yeah. And then you can work with them. Get them talking. Yeah. It's too bad Josh isn't here, because I was just recalling, and that the listeners probably remember we talked about climbing Mount Adams.
That was
the lesson in hubris.
Yeah.
You just destroyed us. You like flew right up that motherfucker.
Well, see, that's your take on it. So when we summited Mount Adams to celebrate Josh's birthday, see right there. See, when we climbed Mount Adams, we were having an experience, right? It was a great adventure.
It was a great adventure, yes.
And what you saw was
You smoking us.
my compulsion. It was easier for me to keep going than it was to stop and wait and be with the group.
And just enjoy the
Yeah.
whatever, yeah.
And like that feeling of just churning over is just like,
As
it's
if
like,
it was a race or something.
not even a race like I want to get there fastest or I want to beat, like it's really not part of it for me. It's not competitive.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this, it's this like feeling of, well, like what am I trying to get at here is a great display of like some of these unexplored parts of the interplay that I have kind of between using like over exercise and kind of like compulsive movement and exploration to like really not be forced to explore some of the other mental loops that I have that I developed, like where it's easier for me to go on a breakaway than it is to be a leader in my family, in my business, for other people. Like it's easier for me to take everything on and like get there first for no really good reason.
Maybe it's an old pattern from childhood.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Whereas like developing that other ability to like stay and help people, like in that real visceral level, when everyone's being challenged, it's like a different thing to stay and challenge yourself by helping people, like right here, instead of like, ooh, I'm really feeling it. I want to get this climb over with, so I'm going to get up there. Haha, guess what? I got up to the false summit and the climb wasn't even anywhere near over.
So many goddamn false summits on that thing.
That was my Homer Simpson moment, where in the episode where he's climbing the murder horn with Rainier von Wolfcastle.
I don't know this,
but
explain.
Well, you should link to it. Yeah. So, yeah, there is no summit when, you know, it's the experience of being with your friends climbing a mountain.
Yeah, that's the summit.
That is the summit, and you're there together. Yeah. So, unfortunately, you guys thought I was trying to destroy you.
Well, we were just impressed. Like, man, I was just flying up this fucking
90
degree steep.
Because I'm just I am like, that's chronic endurance athlete syndrome.
Right. You've been doing endurance work
and
for a long
time. I have had lots of experiences like that. Oh, this girl's not returning my calls. Her stuff is, or she's got the key to my apartment. I'm locked out. I'm like calling her 100 times. She's like probably off cheating on me with some other guy. So I break into my apartment and get my bike out and go for like a 3-hour bike ride.
Whoa.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, that's the drug that overcomes my pain.
Yeah.
Because
like,
it is.
It's like workaholism for some people, right? They don't have to.
Well, it is. Because when the people listening to this, let's say you are a marathon runner. Have you ever been injured? This brings back to like how I work with patients. Like, I know how, like, some people that are really compulsive athletes.
It's dark when they get hurt.
It's dark when you get hurt, really dark.
I had 3 days of that with this Achilles thing, but then I changed it to a challenge mindset and I was fine.
That's beautiful.
I mean, it still hurt, but I switched it.
How did you switch that?
It's just like, oh, this is going to make a cool comeback story.
Yes.
And I'm going to do everything. I'm going to leverage all the cool people I know like you and BPC 157 and watch the Aaron Rodgers documentary and see what he did and like bone broth, but also like, what is this darkness teaching me? Because it brought up so much helplessness and anger. There's nothing like the first day of not being able to walk and having your wife have to like change your clothes because you don't know what to do. I had to figure everything out again, showering, everything, going to bed, getting up, until I found that knee thing where I could walk like instead of crutches. That was a game changer.
The knee scooter.
The knee, yeah, it was with no handles. It was like a pirate leg. It was like, arr. But I could use my hands again, and it's like I'm just figuring out these things, and you can see the mental health or your It's just your ability to do things come back. But if I hadn't switched it in my head of like, no, this is going to be a cool comeback story, and see how fast I can come back without being stupid and hurting myself. I'm not beating Aaron Rodgers in 77 days because he had access to some pretty primo stuff because that documentary is really good.
Yeah.
Um,
Shockwave and win back.
Yeah, that I did have access to. That helps. Yeah, all the good stuff. And it's, only 5 months. It'll be 5 months on the 15th that I had surgery. Pretty good. It takes a year for most people to be backpack and to like I've kind of turned a corner a little bit. I ran for a whole 5 minutes the other day. I hadn't ran forever. So you see it yourself coming back, and it's like, yeah, that was the lesson. Like the biggest lesson was like learning to slow down. I had to slow down. And I think sometimes life makes you get hurt to teach you a lesson if you're open to the message. And that was it for me because I was like, go, 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 go. And I couldn't. And then I had to battle with the oxy and then coming off, and that was dark. Withdrawals oxy, no joke. Just listening to what is the message here? Back to your point about pain. What is it trying to tell me? Let's not delete it. Let's listen to it. What does it want me to know? I'm stuck here. I have to go slow. Let me add in more meditation. Let me listen to what the message is that it's trying to tell me. And it's an ongoing process, and it's still ongoing, but those first 3 days were I was angry, depressed, confused, despair. What am I going to do? Just my mind was all over the shop. Couldn't sleep. It was crazy. I felt a little nuts, But then day 4, I was something was just. I just changed it in a way, or wanted to change it. I've been doing all this personal work in my own therapy and stuff like that, so that's helped. I even flew out to Traver Boehm and Dewey Freeman's How Best to Work with Men course in Denver 2 weeks post-surgery. My surgeon, thank God he's top-class surgeon, because I think most surgeons are like, no, you can't fly. It's like, yeah, sure, here's some blood thinners. Go for it. And it was fine. It was totally fine. So having good people around you, like you said, really does help. And I feel bad for people who don't have access to good holistic care, because you get one dum-dum's opinion. If you don't get a second one or a third one, you think that's it. And, I've got to just lay on the couch and do nothing until this heals or whatever. But that was my rant on getting hurt. But so for you, that became a sort of drug for you in a way, sort of, Connor Beaton talks a lot about, for men, when we get stressed, we use the numb-out or check-out coping mechanisms. So easy, right?
That needs to be its own. That's its own chapter, on our book. It's there's a lot of people I would bet that are using beneficial, or let's say have coping mechanisms that have a lot of redeeming qualities, but they're using it compulsively and has a lot of dark side that only shows up at really, I don't know, nasty, unexpected turns, like when you have a catastrophic Achilles tear and now your main coping mechanism's taken away, or lots of guys that taught me bike racing that have failed marriages. Because that's their main way of dealing with conflict, avoiding. And they just need to go on a bike ride to get their dopamine drugs endogenously. And then they can lay on the couch and not mow the lawn because they just crushed
I'm too tired.
The criterium.
And then their wife's getting after them, man, that lawn's getting a little...
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that. And so, gosh, I really, I'm listening to the body. That's my...
Well, that's
my thing.
You're called the Body Listener. That's the name of your company.
Yeah.
It's ingenious.
It's humbling, and it's something that is a great challenge to myself to, really practice what I'm preaching to other people.
Sure.
And I think also, just being honest, is that it's not it's something that is a constant struggle for me.
Sure.
And it reveals itself in new ways, as I'm, going into middle age now, where it's like things that are.
I laugh when I look at you and see middle
I know.
age because you look like you're 35.
Yeah. Well, but treating, it's like I would listen to you and I say, yeah, like how many times do I just lace up my shoes and sprint out and on my run? It's like when I feel that bullet go through my Achilles, that Achilles tear, like
that's what it felt like.
That's what, I'm gonna say, oh, I haven't been listening to my body because I'm not doing, I'm not taking care of it. I'm leaning on it.
Yes.
And again, it's like this feeling of just wanting, I need to get away from the office. I need to get away from my house and just go for this run. Feel really good right now. Like that's drugs talking.
It's very sneaky.
It's very sneaky.
Because it looks healthy compared to like, I'm going to go get some cocaine or whatever.
Exactly. It is. I mean, I don't want to draw parallels. I've never done cocaine, but I've been down that rabbit hole and been bucked off that horse several times to know that it creates some negative consequences in life, similar to drug addiction.
Sure.
And listening to the body. I mean, it comes down to the breath, perhaps, but it's like having something that's like a through line that is something called a movement practice, or something that is like a moving meditation.
So it sort of slows you down a little bit.
It slows you down, or, it can speed you up at times, but it's something that's like it's like a pre-flight checklist that can, just help you be in the moment with your body. And I think finding the opportunity to help you notice when you are leaning on your body as the vehicle to get away from how you are, how you feel, and using your body to get in touch with, I think, who you are,
yes,
where you are, who you're around, and really what needs to truly change.
Yes.
Instead of just doing the same stuff to feel better.
What's the wisdoms to know the difference between those two? Because I imagine that's a very slippery slope.
Yeah, I think I know it when I feel it. I think honestly, one feels like drugs and excitement and manic behavior, or it doesn't help a depression, and one just feels like helps you float off into sleep, or helps you have clarity to appreciate the people around you. And I think it can be different things. Like people turn yoga into compulsive activity.
Oh, of course.
Right? Yeah. People turn all sorts of beneficial things, and it's that whole subject matter that I'm just barely scratching the surface on, of like, well, you had this podcast on bypassing.
Spiritual bypassing, yeah.
And that's what people do that with yoga all the time.
Oh, yeah, classic.
And people do it with their beneficial exercise all the time. People
meditation.
Do it with their their wellness practices. So they're spending so much time and money on their wellness, but they're staying ill in some part of their being.
Yes. That's well said. Yeah. Like some people have like these like 2-hour morning routines, like working out like for an hour and a half and like taking 5,000 supplements. And like, I mean, I've been there. I've tried all these things, and like, that's a lot of time.
I think sleep is.
Sleep.
I mean, huge, sleep, yeah. And pain. We talked a lot about pain, but I think sleep for me, people that have, I don't know, some people that have anxiety or like overactive minds, like it's that barometer for how I'm doing. And if it's the first time during the day that I've listened to myself, then it's going to show up in my sleep.
Good barometer. Yeah. So you're going to be insomnia jacked up when those systems that are trying to help you fall asleep are being impeded by the ones that are promoting wakefulness. That's a good barometer. Yeah. So what I did physically today, is it helping me to wind down, or did it just amp me? Did it increase the thought stream, the chatter? Sometimes that's a big one for people not being able to fall asleep. It's just the mental chatter. And then there are breathing techniques and things like this that you can deploy to bring that down so sleep can take. But that I hadn't thought about that. And also like time of day of working out. Like I used to play soccer indoor, and like some of these games would start like 10 at night. I was in my 30s, so I would just like wake up and like think I'm okay. Like I was drinking like a pre-workout before the game too. I'm like, dude, I didn't know the sleep science back then. Yeah. It was just budding, and I was like, just coffee the next day, like multiple cups. I was doing this for like a couple of years.
Yeah,
it was fun to play it that night. But
right, I mean, that has an impact. All that has an impact on your fascia and your collagen and the tensile strength of your Achilles tendon.
It started back then. And I didn't listen to my body too, because for like 3 weeks, both were screaming, and I would like massage them, and like, I get warm and it wouldn't hurt, and I would just plow through. But then, it felt like someone shot me or threw a rock at my foot or kicked me when I tore it. I knew exactly what I did right away. I was hopeful that it was something else, but once I went to the doctor, he's like, see how I can, that test where they throw you over and they push on it and nothing happens. He's like, you completely tore this.
Yeah.
That I was not listening to my body at all. I was like, I'm still 19 in my head. I can still plow through. I can still do this. And I wasn't really super in soccer shape, which is also dumb. I mean, I hate the fact that I have to warm up now, but that's, everybody should like focus on warming up and joint health. Like it's so underrated, especially when you get to like 40. Holy shit. I never did it. Like, I remember when I would do sports, and before games, we would like warm up for like an hour and a half. I'm like, why are we doing all this? Like, why are we we're wasting energy, right? It's like, no, you're getting your body ready. Like it's ready. And I forgot about that as I've gotten to learn away from team sports and competitions and stuff. I just forgot about it. And I went balls out and pop. I should know this because I've torn 2 meniscus and 1 ACL. Is it menisci or meniscuses?
Yeah.
I don't know what the proper terminology is, but 2 of those motherfuckers and 1 ACL. And like, you think I would learn my lesson? It's all in basketball and soccer. I've hurt myself.
I mean, these, I guess I don't want to say that it's like nature doesn't think we should do that, but we shouldn't be doing it the way we're doing it. I think that the evolutionary perspective is a good way to start kind of dealing with these things. But, like in my work, I've got my industrial athletes, my industrial setting people that I deal with that are working in the field all day. Mm-hmm. So they recover from injuries a lot faster than most of us that are sedentary. And then we come and do this kind of hardcore work, like a sport.
Like the weekend warriors.
Yeah, weekend warriors. And I think there's a lot of risk to that. It's a lot of dealing with the body. The body systems like are all these fluid gradient. And so if you are spending most of the time with your body adapting to being sedentary, and then you're going to go and like literally you're being competitive to reach for that ball, to jump for that rebound. It's like you haven't done the duty cycles, not you, but it's like talking to myself. It's like where in the week were you preparing yourself for that one instance?
Exactly.
Like we were preparing ourselves to be more sedentary, and the body wants to adapt to do that. And so what's the answer to that? Pick a range of activities where if you don't let your people goad you into doing stuff. Like if you're not feeling right that day, you're just not going to play that. If you're feeling like, oh, there's something weird with my Achilles, let's have some alternatives there.
Yeah, you see it in pro sports. They won't let you play if you have any niggle. They'll be like, you're not playing.
That's right.
Let's not risk it.
Well, that's a better culture now. But also, let's say short of that, let's say I'm deciding to do this race this weekend. Am I really getting myself ready? Nutritionally, sleep, movement, all the background activities. And it's like, it's if competition is in sports is a bit of a fake natural hyperstimulus, then also some of the exercises we do kind of have to be fake as well, or a little bit synthetic. Because the alternative would be if we were all living on a in a natural farm town, in a
I always think
outside of Ashland, Oregon.
Yeah, exactly.
We would be all natural,
moving.
right?
But I always think about somewhere in the gym when I'm watching everybody lift weights. I'm like, this is such a modern living stupidity. Like we have
it
to
is, but
lift
what's
the weight.
Yeah,
but that's where we are.
Well, that's where we are.
Yeah.
And if we're really gonna change, then let's really change. But let's be honest about where we are today and where we want to move in the next couple months when it comes to being healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of like instituting that change in our families and in our community, and not trying to pretend like buying a pair of barefoot shoes and going on a meat only diet is going to make us
magic
cavemen or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to regress and go back to the old ways.
That's right.
Yeah, it's cool at the gym though, because you have the trainers, which are pretty world class, and then they can refer people to you that are hurting, or vice versa. But I see you out there like running people through stuff like trainers too.
So a lot of those people are my people that they just decide. I don't really do that as there's not like a line item for me anymore, but for new clients. But those are people that decided, you know what? I tend to get hurt anytime I try to step on the gas by myself or with a trainer. And so they just liked my model of like training, like conditioning with physical therapy mindset to where literally if it's like, oh, that's not feeling right, there's no sets, reps, or pressure to do that motion. We're going to explore the pain. We're going to try to strengthen the pain. But it's like I've gotten people pretty strong and fit over years, decade. Like, some of these people I've been with 10 years because, we just listened to each other. I didn't push them hard, but I didn't avoid things with them, and they kept showing up. And so those are those people I'm out there doing conditioning with, but I'm always a physical therapist. And so my strength and conditioning colleagues in the gym, they train people with an eye on quality and form.
They're good.
And like, I don't get a lot of referrals from them maybe because they, are afraid of, how can you say, like if I'm making a joke, it's like, you better listen to Josh or else it's going to cost you a lot of money back in my office. But it's like, they don't refer a lot of people because they're so good at what they do.
Correct. Yeah.
They're not just phoning it in with some sets and reps.
Paint by numbers or whatever.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, so what's your advice to, you work with women too, which is cool, but men's health seems to be sort of a focus. What's your advice for men coming in that they realize, shit, I'm sedentary, I need to get healthier, maybe they got some erectile stuff going on, they have no idea it's a pelvic floor issue, like, where do they start? What do they do? Like, do they get blood work first? Do they talk to you first? Like, I'm sure it's different for everybody. If you're
listening to this, just honestly reach out on my Instagram, The Body Listener, or you can email me, grant@bodylistener.net. It really depends on where you live in the country or the world, but there's a lot of good people to help now, a lot more than there used to be. There's a lot of different options. There's a lot of online help.
Sure.
I've got some exercise on my website. Just don't lose hope. Like, wherever you are, do not lose hope. You will figure this out. People guarantee, like, if you're listening to this, someone has figured out your problem, and it's your quest to find your own path forward. And so treat it like you're the head of your company, which is your health.
I like that.
And don't don't get dependent on any one person or one perspective for your help.
Right.
And, it will take multidisciplinary approach.
I like that.
So keep searching. And when you feel something that's challenging your issue, probably go down that path. If something is promising to like take your pain away, maybe be wary of that. It's really an exploratory process.
That makes sense. Yeah, and all the cool gadgets and machines you have also helpful. And I'm trying to be mindful of time because I know you got a patient in like 15 minutes. Any closing thoughts? Do you feel complete?
Yeah, this patient I'm going to see right now is like very alive in my mind right now. This person is really inspiring and brings forward a lot of lessons I think we talked about today. This person was totally bedbound.
Wow.
2 weeks ago.
Wow. Holy shit.
And medicine and even alternative medicine had not helped her and made her worse. And with a process of gently challenging the fluid systems of the body with movement, with Win-Back Takar therapy, we get the lymph flowing a little bit. We do a little bit of therapy to get blood flowing to the nerves. We take a little pressure off. Now we're moving a little better. Now we can walk to the bathroom. And there's a person that was extremely healthy, extremely good health practices, extremely active. Her mental state, or let's say 3 major significant life traumas happened all in the span of a year.
That'll do it. And
that coupled with the person has never been a good sleeper, probably always had a load there. And that this nervous system can create such a profound need to be listened to.
Yes.
And the way forward with that is meeting that pain and that dysfunction as a partner, not an enemy, and moving forward with it and having gratitude for it. And that's that person's wisdom that's just speaking into my life and inspiring me, that as a person that, generally is healthy and other people look to as healthy, it is my discipline not to lean on my health, not to, let's say not to use my health as something to abuse, but something to honor and cherish. And so if we're healthy, whatever health we do have today, let's not lean on it and use it and deplete it. Let's cultivate it and honor it.
That's a good distinction. And if you don't know, again, the wisdom to know the difference, you could go the other way real quick, I'd imagine. So cool, man. We got to have you back to go deeper on these subjects. And Josh will be back intermittently. Maybe we'll grab him for the next one. We can also make fun of ourselves for the Mount Adams
Maybe
trip.
That was the, that was my ability to just speak without any context. Josh has a lot of context as we've been down the road for the last 10 years. So he's seen all my stuff.
Oh boy. Okay. We definitely got to hear this. We get the big backstory.
That's right.
Yeah. It really helped me between you and Dr. Eleanor DeBecker from Providence and put me back together. But, I've seen you for other things too before that. It's really been helpful, and we always have cool conversations. So definitely got to have you back on to have more. So if you think this podcast helps anyone, any guys, send it to them. If anybody's hurting or doesn't know where to begin, this is probably a good first start. And women too. And we'll link all Grant's stuff in the show notes. So if you want to reach out or get in touch, you can do that. And that's cool. We have some online stuff. So people are like, because we got listeners in like the UK and Germany and stuff or whatever, they can check it out and try it out. So that's cool too. And yeah, until then, we'll see you all next week.